Welcome to the place where your nightmares breathe and story you hear could be true. I'm Ellie, and tonight, you're not just listening to a story, you're stepping into it. Are you ready? Because once you start, there's no turning back. Detective Elena Morales wasn't new to late-night calls, but the call she received at 2:37 a.m. had a different tone. The voice on the other end was steady but hinted at urgency. Detective Morales, we've got a homicide, downtown alley off 5th. You'll want to see this. Elena arrived at the scene, her heels clicking against the slick cobblestones, rain mixed with the faint scent of iron in the air. The body of a man lay sprawled, lifeless eyes staring at nothing. His hands were bound, his face marked with bruises, but it was the symbol carved into his chest that caught her attention, a triangle with an eye in the center. It sent a shiver down her spine. "We've got a name," Officer Hughes said, handing her the victim's wallet. Daniel Royce, tech entrepreneur, big shot in the cybersecurity world. "And now he's dead," Elena muttered, crouching to get a better look. Whatever he was involved in, it wasn't just business. A piece of paper was tucked into the man's jacket. Written in a hurried scrawl was a cryptic message: "The eye watches. Trust no one." As Elena pocketed the note, she glanced toward the shadowed buildings around her. She felt watched. The investigation led Elena to Daniel's office, an austere high-rise with mirrored glass that reflected the city's skyline. Inside, his assistant, Marcy, was pale and trembling. He said someone was following him," Marcy stammered. "For weeks now. He didn't tell me much, just, he seemed paranoid." "Did he mention who or why?" Elena asked, her pen poised over her notepad. Marcy shook her head but hesitated. There was a name," he muttered it once. "I think it was Solomon." Elena's pulse quickened. She'd heard that name before, a ghost story whispered in the precinct. Solomon was said to be a master manipulator, a puppeteer pulling strings in the shadows. Returning to the station, Elena pulled up Daniel's phone records. The last call he made was to an unregistered number. She dialed it, and after 3 rings, a voice answered, low and measured. "You're in over your head, detective." Before she could respond, the line went dead. Determined to find answers, Elena combed through Daniel's personal life. His apartment was pristine, almost unnervingly so, but in a hidden compartment in his desk, she found a flash drive labeled key. At the station, the tech team decrypted the drive. It contained a single video file. In it, Daniel sat in a dimly lit room, his face drawn. "If you're watching this, I'm probably dead," he began. "They're called the Eye. They control everything, governments, corporations, even law enforcement. They're everywhere. If you're smart, you'll walk away." Elena's stomach churned. Walk away wasn't in her vocabulary. Tracking Daniel's movements, Elena discovered he'd recently visited a derelict warehouse on the outskirts of town. Armed and cautious, she ventured there alone. Inside, she found a labyrinth of rooms. Each one was filled with remnants of activity: coffee cups, discarded papers, and maps marked with red circles. In one, she discovered a corkboard filled with photos, documents, and red string connecting them. At the center was an image of a man with piercing eyes, Solomon. Her heart pounded as she took in the scene. This was more than a conspiracy. It was an organized, deliberate operation. She photographed everything with her phone, knowing it might all disappear if she left empty-handed. Suddenly, a noise behind her made her spin. A man lunged at her, his face hidden by a ski mask. They grappled in the dim light, her training kicking in as she fought to gain the upper hand. The man was strong, but desperation gave her an edge. She managed to disarm him and pin him to the ground. "You have no idea what you've stepped into," he hissed, his voice muffled by the mask. "They'll kill you." "Who?" Elena demanded, twisting his arm to keep him subdued. He laughed, a low, menacing sound. "Everyone." Before she could press further, a gunshot echoed through the warehouse. The man went limp beneath her, a bullet hole in his temple. Elena dove for cover as more shots rang out. Her heart racing, she managed to escape through a side door, but not before catching a glimpse of a shadowy figure disappearing into the night. Back at the station, Elena's instincts screamed that someone on the inside was working against her. The evidence she'd collected from the warehouse was gone, and the CCTV footage from the area had mysteriously vanished. Her suspicions were confirmed when her car's brakes failed on a deserted highway. She survived, but barely. Shaken and furious, she realized the reach of the eye was deeper than she'd imagined. Later, her partner, Detective Briggs, approached her with a grim expression. "You're being reckless, Morales. Drop this case before it's too late." "Why do you care?" she snapped, her eyes narrowing. Briggs hesitated, then whispered, "Because they're watching us right now." The cryptic warning only fueled her determination. She began investigating Briggs, uncovering a series of payments made to him from a shell corporation linked to the eye. Confronting him, she demanded answers. "You don't understand," Briggs said, sweat beading on his forehead. "They're everywhere. You can't fight them." "Watch me," she retorted, locking him in an interrogation room. But as she left, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just made a grave mistake. Elena's investigation revealed that Briggs had deeper ties to the eye than she'd initially thought. He wasn't just a pawn, he was an active participant. She found records of his involvement in covering up crimes and silencing whistleblowers. Desperate for leverage, she visited Briggs in the interrogation room. "Tell me everything," she demanded, "or I'll make sure you rot in a cell for the rest of your life." Briggs sighed, defeat etched on his face. "Fine, but you're not going to like what you hear." Over the next 2 hours, he outlined the eye's operations. They had infiltrated every level of power, using blackmail, bribery, and violence to maintain control. "Solomon isn't just a man," Briggs said. "He's an idea. Even if you take him down, someone else will take his place." Elena left the room feeling both enlightened and overwhelmed. She now had a clearer picture of her enemy, but the scale of the conspiracy was daunting. Using clues from the warehouse and Briggs's confession, Elena tracked the eye's operations to an abandoned hotel. The building was a fortress of secrets, each room revealing pieces of a puzzle. In the lobby, she found a ledger containing coded entries. In one of the suites, she uncovered a stash of counterfeit passports and untraceable cash. The deeper she delved, the more she realized how meticulously the eye operated. In the basement, she discovered a command center filled with surveillance equipment. Files on dozens of high-profile individuals were neatly organized, including one labeled Morales. Her hands trembled as she opened the file. It contained photos of her family, detailed records of her life, and even transcripts of private conversations. They knew everything about her. Before she could delve further, the lights went out. Footsteps approached, and she drew her weapon, her heart pounding in her chest. Captured, Elena found herself face to face with Solomon. He was calm, charismatic, and unnervingly self-assured. The room they were in was opulent, a stark contrast to the grimy hotel. "You're impressive, detective," he said, pouring a glass of wine. "But your fight is futile. Every move you've made, we've allowed. You're a pawn in a game you can't comprehend." Despite her fear, Elena smirked. "Every game has its weaknesses." Solomon chuckled. "Perhaps, but you won't live long enough to find them." Their conversation was interrupted by an explosion that shook the building. Elena's team had arrived, launching a full-scale assault on the hotel. Chaos erupted as gunfire rang out. In the confusion, Elena escaped her captors and confronted Solomon in the command center. "You think you can win?" he sneered. "I don't need to win," she replied, detonating the data servers. "I just need to expose you." The aftermath of the explosion was a blur of smoke and fire. Elena's team secured the building, arresting several key members of the Eye, but Solomon was nowhere to be found. Back at the station, Elena worked tirelessly to piece together the remaining evidence. The files she'd salvaged were enough to implicate several powerful individuals, but she knew it was only the tip of the iceberg. "You've dealt a serious blow," her captain said, "but this isn't over." Elena nodded, her resolve unshaken. She had won the battle, but the war was far from over. As the dust settled, Elena emerged victorious. The media was flooded with leaked files, dismantling the ICE network. But as she celebrated, a package arrived at her door. Inside was a single photograph of Solomon, alive and smiling, with the words, "We're always watching." Liked the story? Smash the like button, it feeds the darkness, and subscribe, so you'll know when the next nightmare begins. I'm Ellie, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.